People talk about sleepers a lot in the automotive industry. A sleeper, by the real definition, is a car that you don't think should be fast. It doesn't look fast, but secretly, it's sleeping on some serious power and performance. People often mistakenly apply the term sleeper to vehicles where folks clearly know that the car's fast. An Audi S6 is not a sleeper, even though some people think it might be. You can see the body language, you can see, even to the non-enthusiast, an A6 looks fast. One car that actually is a sleeper is the one I'm driving right now. This is the Acura RLX. Acura calls it a Sport Hybrid. I'll just call it a hybrid. There's no sporty badges. The outside of the car doesn't look sporty. It doesn't make sporty noises. So there's not much to expect here. It does have, however, the SH all-wheel drive system, the super handling all-wheel drive, which is a sporty all-wheel drive system. Why is this car a sleeper? Well, it has the standard V6 engine up front, which on its own makes about 315 horsepower. This car also has 3 electric motors. Combined power output now is 377. This car gets up and goes. You wouldn't expect it, but it does, and it's a lot of fun. It actually has a sport mode button. If you leave the sport mode button off, I'm gonna turn it off, the car just went into full electric mode. It's really easy to put it into that mode. You don't have to work hard to get it into the state where the engine relaxes and lets the electric motors do their thing. That's kind of neat. Cruising down the highway, you can get this thing into electric mode. There are 2 fuel gauges, so to speak. There's the traditional gas gauge on the right. On the left is a gauge showing you how full your battery charge state currently is. It's easy to keep it full because it's easy to dip back into the gas motor and regenerate some of that power. Up front, there's 1 electric motor that's handling a lot of that positive and negative regenerative capabilities. Out back are 2 electric motors. Basically, those are there to handle torque distribution. Now, a traditional torque vectoring all-wheel drive system handles the torque metering in a number of ways. One of the common ways you often see is by braking the inside wheel. That's not torque vectoring, that's just braking, even though automakers continue to call that torque vectoring. In some strange way, maybe you could consider it torque vectoring, but I don't. It's literally just braking. It's a neat system that can help you get around a corner faster, but it is not torque vectoring. This system is torque vectoring. It uses its electric motors to distribute power to those rear wheels to help you get through corners. It also uses the system to create a sporty driving experience. Push it in sport, and those 2 motors are sending power to the wheels that provide the most fun. This car is a sleeper. Now, I mentioned the Audi S6 earlier. That car starts at $70,000, makes 450 horsepower, and it's great. It's a fun to drive car. We took its sibling, the S7, out to the El Mirage dry lake beds. It was a blast, hit 155 miles per hour all day long. Like I said though, that thing starts at $70,000. This car starts at just under $60,000. The one I'm driving is $66,000 and it's fully loaded. Compared to the S6, you're down 70 horsepower. That's a lot. You're saving some money though. Now, how does that actually affect performance? Well, the 0 to 60 time of the Audi S6 is right around 4.5 seconds. The 0 to 60 time of this is 5 flat. That doesn't seem that appealing, but that's pretty respectable. You are just a half second off a car with 70 more horsepower. This car weighs a couple 100 pounds less, even though it's saddled with some batteries and electric motors. It's just that all-wheel drive system is more smartly designed, in my opinion. The SH all-wheel drive system has always been more fun than Audi's Quattro system. That's just how it is. The Audi Quattro system is conservatively tuned, whereas the SH all-wheel drive is surprisingly sporty tuned. This is the first application where they've used electric motors in the SH all-wheel drive system rather than conventional mechanical all-wheel drive setups. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of it though. It's damn near supercar tech in a mid-size premium near luxury sedan. Now the problem for folks out there shopping is they're gonna overlook Acura. The brand hasn't been doing that much lately. Their cars have always been good, but people haven't been that attracted to the styling. They've actually made some other sleepers in the past. If you go and find a TL with the 6-speed manual gearbox and the SH-AWD drive system, you will have a tremendously fun time in that car, which is also supremely comfortable and looks good on the outside. One thing about Acuras on the inside is that they've just nailed the seats from the get-go. These things are super comfortable. Now, some of you might think the button placement can be a little bit fussy, and you're right. They've tried to dial that back a little bit using less buttons, adding a rotary knob, and making a dual screen, lower touchscreen system. It works fine. You know, I'm not complaining. It's easy to reach. I like conventional buttons, but the old Acura center stacks looked insanely crowded with all the buttons going on. This gets away from that. Another area where Acura typically excels in the cabin space is supplying either standard or optionally extra sound systems that just kick ass. For years they've used that ELS system and it's good. Now in this top trim RLX Sport Hybrid, you have a 14-speaker Krell audio system. I've never heard of Krell, but I mean that doesn't mean anything. I'm not an audiophile, but I do like really good, clean audio systems. This is one of those. It's awesome. It's one of the first times in a while where I've had an audio system that I usually set them to neutral, treble, bass, all that. I set it to neutral and I like to see how it's tuned from the factory. Here was one of the first times where I've actually had to inject a little bit of bass because it was just so, I don't want to say overly crisp on the treble side, but everything was coming through so clear that I actually wanted a little bit of bass back into my music to balance it back out. It's supremely impressive, and usually systems are just bass-laden, ultra-heavy, you know, Rockford Fosgate-y bullshit sounding systems. That's not the case. It's supremely crisp. If you like clean audio, you would love this sound system in here. I have some lossless audio files on my iPhone that I play through this app that lets you do that because I'm apparently super hipstery, and I've been listening to The Doors and some of that lossless audio, and Jim and Ray and the gang are just tickling my ears from every corner of this car. Every note sounds great. You can hear the song as it was intended to be heard. And if you like music, that's a good thing. When this car showed up at my door, I had very muted expectations. I didn't know what to think. After spending a week with it, I really, really like it. The one area where I could see, you know, a nice upgrade happening down the road is the exterior styling. It's pretty bland. It's kind of boring. There's not much going on there. Inside the cabin, I'm fine with it. I don't mind the gimmicky dual screen thing. It works because I can have the nav up on the top one. I can have audio controls on the bottom one. I still have some button-based HVAC controls, which I really like. I also have, you know, a bunch of stuff on the steering wheel, which allows me to control stuff. So there's a choice. You're not stuck with just one, which is good. The choice helps you live with the touchscreen. Just cruising along here, I got off the line in gas to help you get up to speed. And then as soon as you get up to speed, you relax on the throttle a little bit and it drops right back down into electric only mode. I mean, so you have a surprisingly sporty, relatively affordable in the space, super comfortable sedan with great tech features inside. That also happens to be a sleeper with nearly 400 horsepower on tap for under $70,000 that also gets over 30 miles per gallon on the highway. Why aren't people buying Acuras again? One of Acura's biggest problems is that it's just not as attractive to folks buying in this segment. They've made some money and they want to spend that money on the German offerings and also Lexus. They're splurging. And Acura doesn't feel like a splurge to them. And that's a shame, because if they spend a few minutes in this cabin on the inside of the car, where they spend most of the time, not on the outside staring at it, which everybody else sees, they might walk away with a slightly different opinion. This is a good car. Hopefully Acura pays attention to what Lincoln is on the verge of doing. Lincoln has quietly been building supremely good-looking cars inside and out. They're adding engines specific to the Lincolns now to make them even more appealing over their Ford siblings. and they're about to bring back the Continental. So Lincoln is slowly rebuilding. Sorry, I'm getting confused. There's like 4 old pickups there. I should go home and get my truck. Huntington Beach, Primo's Coffee, good coffee. Acura should be paying close attention to what Lincoln is doing right now. If Lincoln can rebuild their brand after these stagnant years, and I think they are on the verge of doing it, Acura can do the same. Creeping along in silent mode, we're running on electrons. That's Huntington Beach's new Soda Sopa, AKA Pacific City. It's not in the Sheepa town. That's Soda Sopa. You just spend an evening out in Pacific City? Well, now you don't have to let the good times end. Welcome to the residences at Pacific City. Looking for an even more exclusive, luxurious time when you enjoy Pacific City? Welcome to the villas at the residences at Pacific City. Relax. You're home. Drive. Thus concludes my thoughts on the Acura RLX Sport Hybrid. I hope you enjoyed this time. Don't take my mic, you mother. Oh, you took